evening, America. Hello, Chicago. And what's up, West Side? This is P. Ray of Black Excellence Hour, a show for people with high self esteem. You could have been doing anything on this very beautiful Sunday afternoon, and you chose to come hang out with me today at Black Excellence Hour. And as always, I appreciate the company, I appreciate your time. Today, we have a very special show with a very special guest. Today's guest is actually an unknown Chicago legend. I have Mr. Gerald Gary coming in today. He's going to be on our live line. He is the owner of the Regal Theater. The Regal Theater on 79th Street in Chatham. Everybody was saying, P. Ray, you are so West Side centric. It is time for you to start minding Southside business, go talk to Southside people. And I said, yes, I am. So last weekend, y'all know we went over to Inglewood and we did our Trump demonstration. Again, shout out to the gentleman over there who showed us so much love and hospitality. And I said, well, I'm going to keep on minding my Southside business. And this week I have Mr. Gary coming in. He is going to clear up a couple of things that we have going with the Regal, such as why is it not open? Who really owns it? Because remember, they were saying that it was Kanye's spot, and I thought it was Kanye's spot, but it was not Kanye's spot. So shout out to him today. I also got my hair in an afro today. I told y'all I was gonna stop blow drying it as much because I'm starting to get this heat damage. So unless you see me doing something fancy, I'm gonna be rocking some curly hair. With all that being said, we're gonna get straight to the show. We're going to start the show with a dose of self-esteem like we do every single week. And that is from our candidate, our president, the only president that cares about Black people, about Black America, the only one who cares about that open border, the only one who has ever tried to come up with a solution to help us get rid of these people who are just sucking us dry through the tax dollars. Property taxes have gone up. All the taxes have gone up. The grocery stores are empty because they got all the link card money and we trying to figure it out in coupon. That man is President Donald John Trump Sr., the 45th president, soon to be president number 47. Roll tape.
African Americans built this nation. We built this thing. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense? Right? But through generations of blood, sweat, and tears, and you deserve a government that defends your interests, protects your families, and cares for and prosperity for all Americans, but for African American communities all throughout our land. And our agenda is lifting up citizens of every background, race, religion, color, and creed. But while we are working every day to build up our nation, the far left only wants to wreck, ruin, and destroy our nation.
All right. Again, that was Donald John Trump Sr., the 45th president, who is like P. Ray, driving these people crazy. See, what people have to know is that once people have their minds made up, you can't force them to think like you want them to think. You can't bully people into believing that for some reason or another, you're going to be able to overcome how they think or how we think because you think something differently. Who are you? We all matter. And that's why once again, Donald Trump is getting back in office. As I've been telling everybody, everywhere I go, Black Chicago is voting for Trump. Pass it on. The DNC is about to come to the city of Chicago and get an experience that they did not. We talked about Kamala last week, and again, it's a sore Kamala, so I don't want to talk too bad about her. But we talked about her and how Donald Trump said that she was not a Black woman. And, people were saying that, oh my God, he's so racist. Why would he say something like that? That was not kind, blah, 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 blah. Well, there is a song called, wait, hold on, before we get that going. There is a song that is going across social media called Kamala Ain't Black. And guess who's singing it? A Black woman, not a white man. Nobody paid her to do this because Black people have decided, we all got together and said, Kamala is not a black woman. She does not get to cosplay the Negro. And they made a song to play. Roll tape. Ain't black and neither is the name. Mama ain't black. Mama ain't black. Mama ain't black. My father ain't black. My sister ain't black. So no mama. Mama ain't black. My father ain't black. Mama ain't black. So no mama. They said that Kamala ain't black. So I had to skip the middle section because they were like saying some stuff that I don't want to play on my show. But I'm going to play it from the beginning so that you can get the umph of the song. Roll tape. Kamala ain't black. Daddy ain't either. Kamala ain't black. What makes you believe her? As a legend, the story's been told on skin folk cave. Kamala ain't black. So that's the part I'm gonna cut off. But if you want to get the song, it's called Kamala Ain't Black. It is going across social media because the only people who believe that Kamala is a black woman are folks that are trying to sell it to us. I told you I was in this Twitter space, and this white woman was like flabbergasted that I was like, this is not a black woman. And she was like, yes, she is a black woman. Who are you to say? And then all the white people in the room were like, homegirl, I think her name was like Joanne or something. But they were like, Joanne, how dare you tell this black woman what a black woman is? And this is an actual black woman. The nerve of you, Diane. You are embarrassing black people. You're embarrassing white people. And P-Ray, we are so sorry. So rather than push this, what I'm going to do is, because as everyone knows, I'm Team Trump, I am going to play a video that I played for you guys a couple of weeks ago with the woman, our vice president, my soror Kamala Harris, saying she's not going to do anything for black folks. But then we also need to know exactly who the Democrats are so that once we get away from them, we have a good reason to do so. Rotate. Oh, wait, sorry. Let's get that tape going again. Hold on, let's get it going again because Kamala was serious about everything that she just said. Let me try this one more time.
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, they don't got abortion clinics at the border. They're telling us as American women, specifically black American women, we need to abort our children. But if you coming across the border with your baby, oh, come to the land of milk and honey. The great land of opportunity. We'll take care of you. Joe Biden even said, I will give illegal immigrants coming across the border $400,000 a piece. Can you imagine if they were to go to that black single mother living in the hood, not even $400,000, offer $4,000. I know some black women that can make something jump with $4,000. Offer her $40,000. You know why they'll never give us that? Because they know that we'll never need them again. Welfare reminds me of an old man I used to date. I was in a relationship with him for 11 years. He would never marry me, right? But whenever my bills were due, I would tell him he would give me just enough. He had a whole lot of money. He would give me just enough. Rent due, $1,200. He'd give me $1,200, not one cent over, because he knew that every month the rent was due that I would have to come back to him. He wouldn't give me $100,000 and say, "Here, baby, bump that, go buy you a house and start your business," because then he felt like I wouldn't need him. The government system is the same way when it comes to black Americans. They'll never give us enough to get over and get up. It's only enough to make sure we continue to come back every 30 days so that we can remain slaves to their system.
You know, all these people that are coming in, they're affecting more than anybody else the black population. Second, they're affecting the Hispanic. They're taking their jobs. All of these millions of people that are flowing in are taking the jobs of black people, of Hispanic people, and of unions. The unions are not happy. They're taking union jobs. As a senator, Harris was ranked number one most far-left Democrat in the entire Senate. And that includes Bernie Sanders. Do you believe that? She is more liberal than Bernie Sanders. I didn't think you could get more liberal. She's substantially more liberal. Remember, defund the police. I want to defund the police. Now all of a sudden she says, oh, I'm tough on crime. No, you always go back to where you came from. She makes Bernie Sanders actually look like a moderate. You don't want that. You can't have that. Look, we can't. We're not going to survive. I'll tell you what. If she does win this election because of any, whether it's cheating or any other way, it's impossible to believe somebody can say, let people come into our country. And I mean, these people that are coming in are rough. The only thing good about they're so dangerous and so bad, they make our criminals look like very nice people. That's the only thing good about them. She supports free government health care for illegal aliens, abolishing ICE, decriminalizing illegal immigration. Do you believe it? Mass amnesty for illegals, banning fracking. No more oil drilling. We don't want any more oil. We want everything to be run by wind. We'll put a windmill on the top of our car. She wants to outlaw private health insurance. A lot of people have private health insurance. They want to keep it that way. It's phenomenal. She wants to defund the police, forcibly ripping guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens. As vice president, she even cast a tie-breaking vote to cut Medicare by $237 billion. Your Medicare.
So again, that's who we're dealing with. That's exactly who we're dealing with. And these are the people who are telling us that we should be voting for this woman. She has no platform, no plan, no budget, no promises, nothing but the fact that she's a Black woman. And they're saying, Black folks, y'all need to vote for the Black woman because she's a Black woman, but she's really not a Black woman because she was selling herself as an Indian woman. But because the Negro has the most important concentrated vote in this country as the largest group of citizens in this country, the second largest ethnicity after the Germans, they believe that they can play these identity politics with us, and they cannot. Now, with all of this being said, we also have an election coming up, and I want to remind you of something that our 44th president said when it came to the Democrats and elections. Listen to President Obama tell us exactly who the Democrats are. Roll tape.
I would just like to know what you can say to reassure us that this election will not be rigged or stolen.
Well,
A few moments later.
so I want to be honest. It's not as if it's just Republicans who have monkeyed around with elections in the past. Sometimes Democrats have to. Whenever people are in power, they have this tendency to try to, tilt things in their direction. Republicans who have monkeyed around with elections in the past, sometimes.
So let's roll that back again, because he said those who are in power tend to tilt the elections the way that they want to go. And again, you guys, this is a sitting U.S. president saying this. He said this, or not sitting, but someone running for president in 2008. Imagine if my Donnie said this. Let's check this out again.
Well,
A few moments later.
so I want to be honest. It's not as if it's just Republicans who have monkeyed around with elections in the past. Sometimes Democrats have to. Whenever people are in power, they have this tendency to try to, tilt things in their direction. Republicans who have monkeyed around with elections in the past, sometimes
they're going to tilt things in their direction, which brings me to the next point. And that point is, friends, vote by mail has began. Vote by mail has began. If you are someone who plans on voting in the upcoming election, please, 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 pretty please, go and get yourself a vote by mail ballot. At least order it, so that way if you don't make it to the ballots on that day, you can still have an opportunity to come in and do what you need to do. It is very, very, very important that we all go vote, because as I've been telling everyone, all of the jobs are becoming bilingual preferred, and our Chicago public schools Spanish will not help us compete against native speakers. under any circumstances. So be sure to go and vote so that we can get Donald Trump in, so that we can get people who are coming across the border to literally replace us out of here. It is very, very serious that we do this, especially because the DNC is coming to the city of Chicago. The entire country knows that Black Chicago is very disappointed with the Democratic Party, and they're going to come here and try to pull all kind of tricks next week. So keep your eyes and ears open, keep your head on the swivel, because next week it is going down. We have people, the Antifa, and we know that Antifa, they are the guerrilla warfare arm of the Democratic Party. They are the manifestation, actually, of the KKK. They are the grandchildren of the KKK. And so what we have to know is that they are coming here to keep up some mess. So I am going to read to you guys what they said and what they're going to do. It says, "Hello, Democrats. Welcome to Chicago. Make bruises from Chicago police batons, the 2024 back to school fall fashion. We won't be silent. We won't be tamed. This war on Gaza is not in our name. Shut down the DNC." So we know that the Palestinian protesters are coming, and because they said that they want to make the bruises from the Chicago police batons, the 2024 back to school fashion, the fall fashion rather, we also know that they're going to try to bring our children into this. I'm asking everybody to please leave your children at home. Do not let them go down there to that DNC. Do not let them go protest. Do not let them get in this business that is not their business. Also, they said, a call to students and youth. Make 2024 as great as 1968. Come to Chicago this summer and shut down the DNC. They also said, we welcome volunteers all summer long, but repeatedly call on students and youth to join us in Chicago for 2 weeks from August 9th to August 23rd. Week 1, we will be featured on a mass outreach, going door to door, talking to people, and agitating car to car on the Chicago L train about U.S. imperialism, the DNC, and the Palestinian vote pledge. Getting our Genocide Joe is not welcome in Chicago posters up everywhere. Holding Chicago speak outs in the neighborhoods that connect us to people in Chicago. They're also going to be talking about the slow genocide of Black people and oppressed people taking place in Chicago, and organizing to the course of the DNC projects. Week 2 will be focused on protesting the DNC, while there will be a breadth of protest activities. We're rallying students and youth to be audacious, take the front lines, and yell. So these people about to come to our house, y'all. Oh my Lord Jesus, we don't want them. Make sure you lock your gates. Okay, they are on the way. Again, we didn't send for these people. They are coming. They said they're about to be on the train. So as you are there in the morning trying to get to your job to pay your bills, because again, inflation is through the ceiling, know that these weirdos are on their way to come aggravate and harass you. Moving on, I just got to keep us relevant because my guest is on the live line. I also want to let you know that we are in the middle of World War III. If you did not know, now you do. And with us being in the middle of World War III, we have the Taliban. Remember, Jim Crow Joe left out of Afghanistan, and he left billions upon billions upon billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of dollars of our utility there. Well, not only did we give the Taliban tons of tons of military equipment, but we also gave the Taliban lots of money to the tune of $17 billion per month. Don't believe me? Listen to the leader of the Taliban. Rotate, and this is all being done under Jim Crow Joe. Rotate.
For the past 3 years, $17 billion has been sent to the Taliban.
$17 billion.
$17 billion in terms of funding.
Oh, wait, let me go back. So they're not getting it per month. They have received $17 billion. Let me clean that up. Jim Crow Joe, for the past 3 years, has sent $17 billion to the Taliban. Now, this is the same terrorist organization that Jim Crow Joe stood in the well of the Senate and told the people to go vote to go to war against. The same Taliban that Jim Crow Joe funded back in the 80s to fight the Mujahideen, which was a proxy war between the U.S. and Russia, and we are still paying the Taliban. Listen to this, y'all.
For the past 2 years, $17 billion has been sent to the Taliban.
$17 billion.
$17 billion. In terms of funding, directly that's almost 17 to 87 million weekly. They want to have a territory that they can operate, they can maneuver, they can recruit, they can train, and they can export. So when they see that if we keep fighting, killing, commit these suicide bombing, kill innocent people, commit all these atrocities, at the end, a superpower like America will come at Doha or somewhere else, will sit with us, talk with us, accept us as the reality, accept us as the only choice, and give us $70 million a week so we don't kill the people or starve them to death. Why wouldn't TTP continue with their ambitious plan when they see their brother next door did the same thing and achieved it?
So the U.S.
For the
has
past 2
been
years,
funding both
seven
sides, as you do. If you don't know, you know now. Iran and the Arab world have gotten together, and they said that they are about to put their foot in Israel's back next week. They're about to drop all type of bombs. They got people digging tunnels. I watched this stuff all night, y'all. So not only are the Arabs coming, but so are the Taliban. The Taliban has already said that they see this as a jihad movement. So people are about to acquiesce from all around the world and wage hell and brimfire on Israel next week. So as you are watching this on the news, remember that Jim Crow Joe has invested $17 billion on top of tons of military equipment in order to make this happen. Again, we got to keep ourselves relevant so we know what's going on, because what they're also going to try to do is wrap that under the DNC so that we are not paying attention to World War III that is actually happening in real time. Also, remember that the southern border is still open. They have caught 100 known terrorists coming across that border, and we don't know who they did not catch. And we do know that all of the U.S. power is going to be here on the west side of Chicago next week. Again, if you are not participating in the DNC, stay from around the United Center. Try to stay off the trains, try to stay off the buses, try to stay out of large crowds. It is about to go down, and Jim Crow Joe has been funding it. Moving on, I also want to share with you that at this present moment, as I've been sharing with everyone, there is a housing crisis here in the city of Chicago. And that is happening because the city of Chicago has decided to hoard $1.8 billion of resources and cash meant to house Americans. And so for that reason, we are now at a disadvantage. Well, friends, the Chicago Housing Hotline is not working. It does not work, and it's been shut down for more than a month. 1 month. But the city of Chicago is still hyper, super duper, uber invested in making sure that the illegals find somewhere to stay. And they have shut down the Chicago Housing Hotline. Tell everybody once again, Brandon Johnson has showed us that we are not his priority. With all of that being said, let's get to our guests. Again, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Before I get to the guests, I also want to give a shout out to the American Negro that's been showing out at the Olympics. Lord have mercy, has the Negro been dominating global athletics. Every single event that we get in, we go and we stomp them to the ground from all around the world. Did y'all see LeBron and them whoop France? Did y'all see the women's team whoop the Nigerians? I mean, this was just off the chain. Shout out to Simone Biles. Shout out to Sha'Carri. Shout out to everybody who grew up holding their ear, getting their hair pressed, eating grits, and went to the Olympics and showed out. This was such a beautiful thing, and it was just such a proud moment from the bottom of my heart, from everybody's heart. The ancestors smiled and grinned when we had to go there and once again show up for America, because without the Negro, we would not have gotten all of the medals that we received. So shout out again. God bless America. And you better know that we are as American as sweet potato pie, make America great, directly affects the Negro because the Negro is 100% American. We are an American ethnicity, and everything from sea to shining sea is for us and us first. With all that being said, let's get to our guest. Mr. Gray, is this you? Welcome to Black Excellence Hour. Can you hear me? Sir?
I can.
All right, is this Mr. Gray?
This is Gerald Gary.
Gary, I'm sorry, I keep saying Gray. Gary, yes, I'm getting the R and the A mixed up in my brain. Excuse me, charge it to my head and not my heart. Audience, can you all hear him? Let me know. I just want to make sure that this is coming through. They said that they can. So welcome to Black Excellence Hour. Sir? Mr. Gary?
Yes, what's for the Black Excellence Hour?
Yeah, I said welcome to Black Excellence Hour.
Oh, thank you. I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, can you, let's figure it out. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So, yes, so you are the owner of the Regal Theater. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, sir. So we've been hearing for years that that this was actually Kanye West's spot. And now we're hearing that you are the owner. Tell us about first off, tell us who you are. We know I just gave them your name, but tell us who you are and what's the story behind the Regal Theater?
I'm an investor from Chicago. I have a private equity background, and I grew up in an area where the Regal was located. Was also a part of a lot of arts programs when I was growing up, so I know the value of the arts to the community. So it was a no-brainer when the Regal came up for sale. And since then, we've been putting money into it to keep it development ready. But there are a number of things that have impeded us. But our vision for the area is much bigger than the theater. We hope to create sort of a Bill Street kind of area themed around Black music there. And that's what we've been striving for about the past decade. In the course of doing so, I've been able to recruit various people to the project. One of them was Kanye West, who committed $1 million via an operating agreement with one of the Regal Theater entities. And unfortunately, they didn't follow all the way through on that deal. As you've seen in the press, it could be difficult to work with him.
I understand.
They funded 60% of the deal, and then they walked away. So unfortunately, we had to litigate to get the rest, and that's currently under
Litigate as in sue him?
speak, along with many others that I'm touch on, but I'll leave it there and let you take it.
Yes, sir. So how long has the Regal been out of commission?
So the Regal Theater has been mostly closed since about 2008. I believe the last major event we did in there was the celebration party for the election of Barack Obama. And since then, there have been various on and off things. I purchased the property shortly after 2013, and it's remained closed save for open house events or any kind of tours that we do with potential investors or any kind of filming. And I'll use the opportunity now to shamelessly plug our Instagram at Avalon Regal. That's the same as the website, www.avalonregal.com. And we encourage everyone listening to sign up for our mailing list so you can receive updates. There's a lot of big things cooking right now. Again, that's at Avalon Regal, as in the Kingdom of Avalon, and Regal like a king. And Avalon Regal is the website. You can follow us on Twitter as well, but Instagram is most recently updated.
So
That's basically. Go ahead.
So because we know that the Regal Theater is one of the major landmarks of Black Chicago, has the city been, let's go back. This is a major landmark of Black Chicago, and we have a mayor that loves to tout the fact that he's a member of Black Chicago. He has a Black wife, he has Black children, and they're trying to get this equity. Has the city been open with giving assistance to help get the theater back open?
We've applied to several grant programs, including the Adopt a Landmark program, unfortunately, we have been sometimes denied, but other times not even notified as to the status of our application. And of course, these applications are quite expensive, so it's prudent to hire consultants to do this, and those don't come for free. So we've wasted money going after money that should have been allocated towards us and have been unsuccessful in doing so up to this point.
Who's the alderman in that ward?
Alderman Michelle A. Harris.
And so I wanted to bring her up because I saw that she had a project called the Regal Mile, and they were trying to replicate a CineSpace called the Regal Mile on the south side of Chicago. Are you guys affiliated with that at all?
We are not, and unfortunately, that is a project we had to sue. We're currently in court with them right now on copyright infringement, several other intellectual property matters, and other things. And it's let me just back up for a second because we're getting very technical here, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a point of confusion created when that project came to the forefront, which interestingly enough was just around re-election time. And up until this point, I've seen no real development in that area of said studio, which frankly could have been a boon for the Regal project across the street. Yet, as someone who comes from finance, it doesn't seem likely that someone with the wherewithal to move the level of capital required to build a studio of that magnitude would do so without knowing what's going on across the street at the Avalon Regal Theater. But that's neither here nor there. No development on that project, and there were multiple mentions of doing something with the Regal Theater that we have absolutely nothing to do with. It's almost as if anyone who's listening has seen Coming to America. They created a McDowell's, except for they didn't even have a restaurant. McDowell's from Coming to
I
America.
know what you're talking about.
And the McDowell's, and now they're sued. Everyone can look these cases up. Go to the circuit court or simply go to the county. The records are there. They tried to discredit us, the media, as to the veracity of statements that were made on social media regarding the state of the cases and the lawsuits that have been filed, many of which I haven't spoken about yet. And there's a lot of paperwork flying around because of just corruption running rampant for decades. And the result is economic disadvantage in our communities to people who are already economically disadvantaged.
Why is the city why is the city throwing up so many hurdles? I mean, not that you're a psychic, but in your opinion, why is the city throwing up so many hurdles to get this Black landmark reopened?
In the same fashion that one does not commit the same action and expect a different result as to not appear insane, I do not desire any pursuit on why irrational actions occur, because then I take on the quality of said pursuit. It's irrationality. So I devote myself to figuring out how I can turn street from Stony Island all the way down to the lake into the Bill Street of the Midwest, where the streets are cobblestone and shut down during the weekends because of all of the traversing of traffic across the various shops, which are opened and owned via private equity vehicles by the city. And that's a different part of the conversation, but that's all always been my goal for this project, and the barriers I've since have started to come down. Some of the things, the concepts are new, but many of them have fruits of concepts over 30 years. And many of these politicians, particularly in Chicago, they get in and they walk into City Hall and the grass is falling off the ceiling like plastic. So, yeah, their 10-year term and just essentially they're short-term focused, and there's no one in office that can steward forward a longer-term plan. But that's my goal, at least with the Regal Theater, to establish an institution similar to a Carnegie in New York that can anchor this community and be something that is held in regard of the highest institutions in the nation, foundations, and well-respected. Of course, the Obama Library is down the street. I actually interned for Obama. I think you have my resume. We can talk about some of those points as well, but it's a larger vision than doing shows at the theater.
When you went to the alderman, because Alderman Harris has been in office for a while, how did she initially react to your plan?
The initial reaction was positive. In fact, I had to go to the alderman's office to quote unquote get the blessing to purchase the theater because it's a Chicago landmark and you can't just buy these things on Craigslist. So I had to go and get a blessing. Even the commissioner at that time, what was called, he had the Department of Housing Economic Development, and received a letter from them that was sent to the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Company, who then approved the transaction. They had the asset under receivership through the bank that they had taken over, which had foreclosed on the asset. So I purchased it from the FDIC out of receivership and embarked on 2+ journey.
Wow. This is I believe you. Let's start there. I definitely absolutely believe everything that you're saying. I just can't believe that the city would allow you to purchase the landmark and then throw up barriers in order to get the landmark into working shape, because they understand that this landmark would be a jobs creator. Do you think that this is a way, or do you think that the disinvestment in the project is another way of the city showing that they are investing in other people?
I think it's a frivolous pursuit to consider, and I can speculate no further on it.
Okay, no problem. I'm looking at the comments and I'm asking questions as we listen to them or read them, because one thing that I'm noticing is that what you guys are going through on the South Side is not a unique thing. All throughout the city, people have projects that they want to get off the ground, that they want to get moving, but they keep running into these hurdles that the city throws in front of them. And so what we're looking at now is a huge celebration of what's going to be seen as Black Chicago excellence next week. But then if you pull back the covers, you can start to see all of these festering, maggot-filled sores of, chaos and confusion that actually aid in the destruction of Black Chicago. So let's push them to the side for a moment. And you talk to us about your Beale Street plan. Do you have business owners who would be willing to come into the area and invest into the area to get this going, even without the theater anchoring the project?
Absolutely, but that area is not going to thrive without theater, and you can simply see that with the history of 79th Street and the continued degradation thereupon.
So I don't know about 79th. What's the history of 79th Street? I'm a West Side girl to the bone.
As far as my experience, and I went to school on the West Side as well, and I've seen the decline of both areas, corridors.
Yeah, I see you went to St. Mill.
Graduated from Providence in high class. But you see these neighborhoods
Mm-hmm.
And as you get closer to the lake, you'll see that degradation of various corridors, particularly South Shore community, is worse as you get closer to the water, which is just completely backwards. But that is the nature of the capital flow in the community. You look at the adage that the dollar circulates X, Y, Z, and so and so's communities, yet it circulates negative times in our communities. And on top of that, there's a supply and demand. There's a big deficit with regard to the services and goods we need in our community. And we, on top of that, spend money going to get the services and goods we can't acquisition in our own neighborhood. And in addition to that, there's no access to capital for the few services and businesses which do exist in our neighborhood to grow and satisfy that exiting demand. And on top of that, we don't have access to private equity vehicles that can make that investment using the capital of individuals in that community, just as high net worth individuals do in partnerships, private equity funds.
This is baffling. When you initially called me, or when your associate called me and gave me this story, I said, wait, that's Kanye's joint, and they're about to open soon. And then I spoke to you, and it's almost like the city is forcing you to keep it closed by not partnering with you properly. Is that a proper assumption?
I think that's an accurate assessment.
I think so as well, because we know that they've given $300 million in a year to people who have invested nothing in the city. And here we have a homegrown man, educated on the west side of Chicago, got a finance degree from U of I, went out, made his money, came back to his neighborhood, invested in and bought the major landmark and said, come on, city, help me open this landmark, help us. And they said, no, son, not you. Get back over there. And now we're going to steal your name and your concept and build a whole new project around everything you're doing, and we're not going to let you in. Is that correct? I just want to sum it up for the people.
I'd say that's an accurate assessment.
Wow. 773-345-9977. 773-345-9977. Mr. Gary, you mind if we take a call or two?
Not at all.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Welcome to Black Excellence Hour. Friend? Hello? You've been on mute for a while. On hold for a while. Are you with us? Hello? All right, I'm going to put you back on hold and put you back in the queue, okay? And we'll come back to you. Let's take another call. Welcome to Black Excellence Hour.
Hi, Ray, this is Dennis.
Hey, Dennis.
I have a question for your guest. And, sir, I have a quick question for you. It says, have you ever think about if the government's not going to fund you, have you ever seek donations from the people or somebody that you might know?
I'm glad you asked that question, sir, and we actually have done that. There was a program that I created that was called the Seek Bond Program, and this was pre-COVID, but the concept was to allow people from the community to purchase a seat, which we have 2,500 in the theater, and they can name their seat for 3 years, and the $1,000 investment for that seat would then provide them and so forth. But we're looking forward to partnering with the community to invest in the theater because my goal is to stave off any coming gentrification by really digging ourselves deeper into the roots of ownership in the neighborhood, and that also occurs through real estate. However, we're in a market now where some folks can't afford homes. However, perhaps they can afford ownership in business equity of a local shop that provides them with verifiable dividends and distributions they'll receive on their K1s.
Okay. And my final question to you is, have you reached out to well-known black like celebrities and sports figures?
I can tell you this, I have reached out to just about all of them, and Kanye West was the only one to answer.
And then that didn't go right.
Sir? Yes. I think we need to start putting some investment into the theater because that is a Black Chicago landmark for over years before I was born. And for somebody like these black politicians who trying to snatch it from under our feet, it's like a personal slap in the face for black Americans whatsoever. And God forbid if they really need to take that to Regal from time, they're going to try to make sure that the immigrants will somebody forget. And we got to make sure we put a stop to it and we really invest our money into it. Sir, I'm going to look into your website later on tonight and stuff. And hopefully that everything will go positive the way that it needs to be going too. Because we do need the Regal Theater and stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Let's go, Brandon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. And Black Lives Matter.
And Black Lives MAGA. I love that. See you later. 773-345-9977. 773-345-9977. On the live line, I have Mr. Gerard Gary, not Gray, Mr. Gerard Gary, who is a homegrown Chicagoan who went out and became a super duper uber successful finance professional, came home, took his money, bought the Regal Theater, and then said, City of Chicago, please come help me open the theater. You got all this money. You got Invest Southwest. You got TIF money. You got grant money. You know investors. Please help us get the South Side back together and popping. And the City of Chicago said, no, get on back. Then it's not funny. You got to laugh to keep from crying. Then the city went and tried to steal this man's name and create a film studio around his project to not include his project. And then he had to call and put papers on these people to make them stop. So, Mr. Gary, I have another question. At this moment, is the Regal functional? Like if someone wanted to host an event there, what's the capacity of what you could provide?
The building we've been able to restore electricity to the building. We've done some plumbing work, but unfortunately, because it's been sitting there vacant and unfunded, there's been some vandalism incidents at the property. The bathrooms are not functioning. It's only open for filming and open houses. Those are the only kinds of events that we've done in the property. It is as beautiful as it may look when
And in total, how much do you all need to restore the building into working theater order?
So I'll give you context of that number. When I purchased this building and presented my plan to the city in 2014, the price was just under 9 million. Now it's ballooned to 15 to 20 million over the next 2 to 3 years.
Wow. Okay. Well, let me put this back in context. So when you got it, it was just under 9 million, but because you did not receive the proper funding that you anticipated, now those costs have gone as high as $15 million. Correct?
Correct.
Wow. Have you ever reached out to Tyler Perry? Or better yet, not, let's move Tyler off the table. I know that Power, which is part of the Powerverse with 50 Cents, he, has utilized the space. Has Mr. Jackson ever spoke about investing in the theater at all?
I don't know any of those people.
Oh, and I say, oh, okay. When I say
My
Mr.
brother
Jackson,
worked with Kanye's mom,
I'm sorry.
you know. So
You said that you were working through his mother. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I can make phone calls, but people have already been reached out to. They're well aware. They're well aware. Isn't Michelle Obama from South?
That's what she tells the people.
I used to intern her husband in the United States Senate. My first job out of University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, where I majored in aviation and finance.
Wow. Well, I'm a former Obama intern too. We spoke about that. I was an IGIP intern, so I interned for him down in Springfield in '04. So I get it. I get it. When you think that you know people and you think like, oh, they're gonna help, and then they just don't show up, and then they bring.
I also interned for Kim Bennett, Chance's dad.
Oh, wow. And they're not, because I know that for a while they were pushing Chance as this corporate rapper out of Chicago in the art scene. They haven't reached back to you at all either. I guess I'll take that as a no. And so, Caesar Man said in the comments, we're talking about the Regal Theater. They know. Of course they know. We have people in the comments who are saying, we graduated at the Regal Theater. I grew up in the Regal Theater. Sir, how did the Regal Theater even close? After the Obama event, they said, that's it. We don't want it anymore. What happened?
So there was a scandal with the former owner of the theater, who of course was a police officer. But there were very good people who worked for her, who were running the theater, but some grant money went the old Chicago way, and the owner went to jail. Not only was the theater foreclosed on, the bank that foreclosed on it was shut down by the Fed. Hence the FDIC receivership. They took the bank over that got shut down because of this entire thing that blew up. The big mess.
And so the bank just didn't maintain the property before you purchased it.
Oh, they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine the FDIC? This is the Federal Deposit Insurance Company. They are not in the business of running the Ballsville movie house, but you better believe any local contractor that gets their hand on a contract with an FDIC receivership asset, they are going as much as they can. And that's what they did. So consequently, when I purchased the building, as you asked earlier, is it ready to have a show? It was then. Hence the 8 to upwards of 20 million over the next 2 to 3 years at this time. And in the beginning, a primary piece of that 8 billion was to the decorative restoration, primarily at that time, of terracotta facade, which included the refabrication of particular terracotta pieces We have letter labels for each. The next time somebody drives by the Regal Book of the Terracotta and all of the pieces, there's one piece that's AAA, the next piece is AAB. It's really interesting. It's designed. It's beautiful. But that 8 million was comprised primarily of something that was not necessarily going to produce additional capital and revenue from the property, which is to say that the majority of that 8 million wasn't even necessary. The budget was about 2 million in 2014.
Wow.
Now it's ballooned. Given that description, you can imagine the acceleration and velocity of those various components, which add up to the now upwards of $20 million. And
So they're basically just trying to wait you out. That's what it's. I mean, no, you can't again. You because you are in the litigation with them. This is not Mr. Gary.
at this juncture, it transcends the strategy. If you presume that you're describing the quality of their strategy, that's to assume that it makes sense what they're doing, but it doesn't make sense. That's why it's a frivolous pursuit for me to postulate as to why they would pursue such a strategy. Because, again, I'm not even going to question that. That's ultimate insanity.
Well, no, we're not. You don't have to postulate, but we here at Black Excellence Hour,
It's ballooned. It's ballooned to 20 million, and now it's going to be more, even more next year. So now they're investing in a strategy that's losing their money. I've got the city tied up over the aldermen in a court case as well. And if they're not going to give it to me, I'm going to take it from them. We have complaints against various defendants that are with respect to the actions which have been taken to sabotage this project. And it really is a waste of time and money and lives. I've seen and witnessed people get murdered blocks away in front of the building because instead of holding a trumpet, they're unloading 12 plus the clip into some poor kid who messed around with the wrong guy.
wow. I have another question for you. We see that that the city has been investing in the Hero Washington Cultural Center on 47. Uh, are you able to utilize some of the avenues that they're doing or that they're using on 47? Like, because that's a theater that's fairly new in the Chicago landscape. I mean, it's not super new, but much newer than the Regal. Why do you believe that they are investing more on 47th than they are on 79?
I think 47th is a different. I mean, there's that's the Harlem of the Midwest, if you will, and we can compare. That would be like we compare it Dorothy Dandridge to Josephine Baker, or something. You know, I don't look at things like that. What I'm looking at in terms of perspective is a bit more subjective to how this project has been treated relative to other theaters across the nation, across the state, and in Chicago, in particular, on the north side. And the irony, the sick irony of it all, is that the one person who could ensure the success of this project is a black person. And they are against it. Worse yet, a black woman.
And that black woman you're referring to is the alderman?
Correct.
Yeah, we're going to have to, here at Black Excellence Hour, we go and we directly talk to these people. So we're going to have to pull up on Alderman Harris and ask her, what's going on? This does not make any sense. We have this beautiful landmark that's here. The people want it. The investor, the owner wants to do the business. What's the holdup in the city? Because we know, again, they can pull $300 million out of the sky blue for whatever they want. And all you're asking for is 20, which is going to invest in the culture of our city. I don't understand it either.
Well, let me clarify my position. I'm not asking for anything.
Mm-hmm. So then what are you, it's not so much that you're asking for a handout. These are things that you and me and anybody else that would be similarly situated that we're entitled to. This is why they have TIF funding. This is why they have landmark funding. This is why they have the grants. And you guys have already spent your time and energy doing this. So you're not asking for a favor. You're asking to get the assistance that you are entitled to as a business owner in the city of Chicago. So I just want to make that clear. So I'm not saying that you're asking for anything. I just don't understand why the city is not giving you the resources that they're making available to everybody else. Mr. Gary.
I don't know if you want me to do banter here like Fox News. I'm happy to do it, but I already told you my position. It's a frivolous pursuit. Consider what? Let me pontificate further on this matter in regard to not the economic disadvantages, which I just enumerated regarding their disinvestment of the theater. But now, as a politician, why would you ruin your legacy like that? You have a legacy of blocking this theater from opening? What is that?
These are the things that the people in the comments, as well as these are the questions that we have. What we don't understand, this is what everyone is saying. There has to be something more to this. There is a Bible scripture that I often quote, 1 Timothy 5:13, that says, "He who has not taken care of his own home is a non-believer and worse than an infidel." And so, as Zaviola Kohler said, these are less than infidels because they are not taking care of home first. So that's a great question. Why would they want this to be the legacy? Why would they not want to give this to us? And again, we can posture how we want, but we're just trying to come to some kind of logical conclusion because this does not make any sense. Even when this story initially, you guys brought this to me, I went and I told my people, y'all, this don't make no sense. Why is the city doing this? What is the issue? Did he go down there and cuss some people out? Did he bring them some Uncle Remus when he should have brought some heralds? Like, what was the offense that has put this man in the position where he cannot give this gift that he brought with his own hard-earned money back to the city? Why wouldn't they want this? And it doesn't make any sense to anybody. So this is why, again, I just keep asking over and over again, just to come to a logical conclusion for us.
And I would encourage, with that being said, everyone to go to our website where you can actually read the lawsuit we've filed against various parties. And it's a lot of paperwork. However, if you go to AvalonRegal.com, again, that's Avalon as in the kingdom of Avalon, Regal as in a king.com. There is a section that says document download or something to that effect, where you'll be able to read on the website all of the complaints that have been filed against various defendants. If you're willing to devote the time to reading and digesting that material, then you will see the thread of sabotage that appears throughout.
So I actually have it pulled in front of me, but before we go through this, someone asked, have you spoken to more mainstream media outlets? For example, I know that Dorothy Tucker likes to do things like this. Have you ever had the opportunity to do more mainstream press about this?
Listen, I got my Chicago Defender Man of Excellence Award handed directly to me by Art on it.
Then
I have had Channel 7 specials, and as soon as the sabotage began to occur, nothing they shut it down. You can't be in there. When they went through the Chicago film office. So we wasted tens of thousands of dollars for that phone, waiting for the reapproval from the film office. I've been arrested by the Chicago Police Department at Avalon Regal Theater for filming a Christian music video with the Mayfair Dance Academy with Peggy Sutton, the daughter of the founder, my mother's sister, and from Chatham, press audience with the teenage film crew and 3 or 4 chaperones on site, including me. And she sent the Chicago Police Department from the 4th District into the building to raid us. And they threatened to arrest everyone. And I said, don't do that. I'm the owner. If anybody's going to jail, it's me. And I went to jail with my Chicago Defender Man of Excellence hat on, backwards, in the squad car, with no handcuffs on my black hair.
Wow.
Texting people, I'm going to jail right now. I got to the station. They put me in a holding cell. They didn't even put the handcuffs on me when they walked me in the station. They were so embarrassed. They said the alderman wants to do it. Just put your hands behind your back. We're not going to put the cuffs on you. It's a true story. I'm walking into the 4th District Police Station with my Chicago Defender Man of Excellence hat on. Backwards.
And this is what you
I'm in
get.
the holding cell for 2 hours. The commander comes and gets me and says, I don't want anything. The alderman wants us to keep you overnight. But we're not going to do that to you because we appreciate what you're trying to do. You always appreciate us when we come through. We're working together. And we're going to let you go with some kind of BS ticket. I watched the officers Google ordinances online. And as soon as I showed up to Superior, weeks later, the ticket was dismissed before I even got to the bench. Operating a business without a license.
This is wild. I'm going to read just a little bit from your lawsuit with Alderman Harris. It says Alderman Harris was unhappy with Avalon Regal's new management and made no efforts to conceal her feelings. She repeatedly denigrated Gary and his upbringing, calling him a thug because of the neighborhood where he was raised. Gary, while refusing to meet Harris's pot shots in turn, was critical of Harris for, amongst other things, her penchant for giving platforms to wealthy benefactors who were not Chicago natives and her collaborations with then Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Undeterred by Harris's belittlement, Gary undertook a comprehensive renovation strategy for the Avalon Regal. He reached out to the city of Chicago for various grants. Although plaintiffs timely and adequately submitted their grant applications, they have been denied every year. The reason is that Harris, on information and belief, has instructed the city to deny the plaintiffs' petitions. Harris's enmity reached a fever pitch in 2017. She knew that the plaintiffs were planning an event for the Chicago Architecture's annual event. Plaintiffs reached out to Harris, requesting assistance with street cleaning to prepare for the event. Harris declined the plaintiffs' request and instead reported the plaintiffs to the Department of Buildings. The Department of Buildings, at Harris's direction, sent plaintiffs a notice purporting to flag cleanliness and safety concerns, all the first of their kind. The department's occupancy embargo meant that the plaintiff had to cancel the event. The plaintiff marshaled their organizers to disseminate the news, but unfortunately, that was not enough time to notify the community members, many of whom still showed up at the event. Armed with the occupancy violation that she manufactured, Harris called the police on Gary, who was lawfully assembling on his own property, and the city detained him. What? You know, sir, like I said, this is just so absurd. Did you like break her daughter's heart one year? Like this seems so personal for me. And I know again that this is still in litigation, so we don't want to impede on this. But I've never seen an incident where an alderman was so invested in sabotaging a business idea, especially when it already exists and is an anchor in the community. I just, this is absurd to me. And this is why, again, we're going to definitely reach out to Alderman Harris to get her side of this story, because I just, again, this is just wild that she would behave like this. It's also in this lawsuit, it says that she strategized with her partner to have a venue known as ID8 to usurp the Avalon Regal. This was the Regal Mile Studio, which wanted to capitalize on the name and historic status. So do you believe that that all of the things that she's doing is actual? No, I will not ask you that question. I believe that she is doing all of this in order to ingratiate her own investment to the detriment of yours. And eventually they just want you to give up so they can scoop it all up and do what they were going to do. Again, you don't have to agree with that either way. We're not going to sit here and postulate, but just based on reading this and hearing what you're saying, this just seems harmful to everybody, which says to me that this is very personal. This is not for the betterment of the citizens of Chicago, the residents of the community, the beautification of the community. This is more so of, I'm going to keep passing licks until you quit the fight. And let me ask you a different question. Is this typically how Chicago does business? Because I've never done business with the city at this level. Is this a normal occurrence with business owners in the city from what you know?
I think it is, but I think there are some deeper components at play that will likely come to light during the court proceeding.
Yeah, I see that she called you a drug dealer. I have your resume in front of me. You're a finance professional. They said that you're doing drugs, or this is wild.
Can you read some of my resume?
Absolutely, sir, I will. And you are quite the established guy. We've actually kind of been in the same circles for years. I was just thinking to myself, P. Ray, why don't you know this man? Because I see you were in Inroads, I was in Inroads. You're a finance major, I'm a finance major. So this is wild. But I'll give you guys a couple of key points from his resume. He has a group called Community Capital Investment. He's been doing that since 2011, and he is the chairman of this organization, and he is active in the operation of all portfolio operations. If we scroll down just a little bit more, he was at LaSalle Bank. We know now that they got bought out, but even there, he was in the role of Global Securities and Trust Services. He managed waterfall distributions for a $1 trillion national value portfolio. He interfaced with servicers, rating agencies, auditors, and internal trust operations to resolve security issues. He was responsible for assessing the risk exposure to servicers. He worked in the Senate, as he said, as an Obama intern. He graduated from U of I with a bachelor's degree in finance. He also has a private pilot certificate, and he earned that in 2004. He was a presidential scholar, a Field Lions scholar, and a General Assembly scholar. Sidebar, I too was a presidential scholar at U of I, but I did not go there because I wanted to pledge AKA, and the Gammas chapter was suspended. So I ended up going to Hampton. But yes, This man is a for real finance dude. He they say I need a guy in finance. I don't know if y'all heard that show. I mean that song. I won't sing it, but yes, he's that man in finance that the woman was looking for in the song. He was also the 2016 Urban League Innovator Award winner, 2015 Chicago Defender Man of Excellence Award winner, 2014 Chicago Crane Business 20s in their 20s person that they spoke about. In 2012, he also got the Up and Comer nominee for the Chicago Innovation Award. So this man has definitely earned the spot that he is standing in right now. And we have someone like Alderman Harris, who is, accomplished in her own way, but definitely not accomplished like this man, who is calling him a drug dealer. Like, black folks can't make money in finance and invest in their own communities. What is going on? Lord have mercy. He also has a certificate of completion for his CFA, that is a certified financial advisor. He was a institute certified financial modeling and valuation training program participant, and this was at the Investment Banking Institute in Chicago. So we have again a man who went to schools in the city of Chicago every day. He came from the south side all the way to the west side to go to Providence St. Mail. Then he graduated, went to U of I, had this presidential scholarship, as well as a General Assembly scholarship, as well as being a Phil Alliance scholarship. Did everything he needed to do. He was an RA, you name it, he did it. He played instruments, like myself. What instrument did you play, sir? Oh, so he's a percussionist. I played the clarinet. So again, he was in the Toastmasters. He has done it all. He is one of the founding members of the Talented 10th Investment Club. And this coordinates research, he researches or coordinates the research for investment opportunities for the alumni of the investment club at Providence St. Mail. So he does the work that he needs to do. And we have people like Alderman Harris who are calling him a thug and a drug dealer, because maybe those are the only successful black men that she knows. But as P. Ray knows, and everybody who listens to Black Excellence Hour, black men are doing more than selling drugs in the city of Chicago to make money. Matter of fact, the majority of the black men that I know are educated, well-established men who are paying money into the tax base. And we have people like Alderman Harris who are instigating and starting smear campaigns against them. This is wild. This is absolutely off the chain wild. And so one of the things that Mr. Gary brought into his lawsuit is that the smear campaign and surveillance against the plaintiffs have caused them reputational harm in the community, as well as damages related to his detainment and continued harassment. They have people, the city officials have entered the Regal and camped outside across the street to surveil and harass its workers. Lord, they don't have anything else to do on 79th Street. They selling kids on 79th Street and they watching this man at the Regal. This does not make any sense. If anybody knows Alderman Harris, tell her, give us a call. 773-345-9977, because we got real questions to ask. This does not make any sense. This is infuriating to hear. It's infuriating to read. And Mr. Gary, I can only offer you my sympathies, because this is so incredibly unbelievable. If this was not written on paper and you did not call me and be an upstanding guy, I would say, no, they're not doing this in Chicago. And this is really happening in the city of Chicago in 2024. This is absurd. Let's go back to the caller. Let's see if they came back to the line. They've been on hold for quite a while. Welcome to Black Excellence Hour. Recall Brandon.
That's right. This is a very interesting topic. First off, my question is, what's the property taxes for that building? I mean, how much is the only investment? That's one of the reasons I have my office in Cook County, and that's why I became so political, because of property tax. So what's your property tax if you don't mind asking? Yeah, the property taxes are 6 figures. is also something else. Increase. Well, you see, this is one of the reasons why businesses don't come and don't stay in Illinois. If you took your building and put it in Indiana, you'd probably pay about $50,000 versus six figures. This is so obscene. This is one of the things people have to understand. Commercial real estate property taxes are killers, and that's why people don't come here. Since I applaud you, I'm also a op-ed opinion writer for the Illinois Leader, IntellectualRadio-Podcast. So I'll get together with P. Ray, and we're going to publish your story. Because this has to be heard by a lot of people. No, in fact, this is outrageous. But see, this is the value of talk radio. They have people like P. Ray that can sit there and focus on things because stories like yours and struggling business people have to be heard. And it's very important because people sit there and complain and whine. Well, everything's inflation. There's also inflation. Well, why is it? Because people aren't doing their job being leaders. In Illinois, business sucks. and your story is exactly the example of why it does. Because people that should be helping and promoting business do the opposite. So I applaud you, sir. I'll get together with P. Ray. We're going to publish your story. I'll try to maybe get some other resources together to let your story be heard. Because this is the kind of garbage that stifles business and hurts people in these communities. As a little offshoot, I'm a big caller on WVON. And, I always say, listen, you look at Indiana, you go to up and down Indianapolis Boulevard in Munster and Hammond and stuff. The stores are all filled. People are working. Kids are working. You go to the Illinois side, Chicago Heights, Fort Heights, Sauk Village. There's vacant property, so those kids that live in those neighborhoods cannot get an entry-level job. Now, if you had a nice theater that was functioning, how many people that live in the neighborhood could get a job there and work part-time or full-time, whatever, and have some meaningful purpose to their life in a local business? This is what has to be supported. So, God bless you, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. So, thank you, sir. I'll get together with P. Ray. We're going to make this happen. Mark Vargas is a good friend of mine. Well, anyways, we're going to publish an Illinois Review and try to get you some more publicity. I'm also good friends with Charles Thomas, who's a former ABC broadcaster, and we'll try to get him involved too, because this is the kind of crap that should not be tolerated. We have to shame these people. Also, did you work with Corey Brooks? I haven't met him yet, but I heard of him. Well, he's having an event coming up. You should go to that event, and I'll call Corey and tell him about you, because he could also give you some nice publicity. Thank you so much. No, thank you. Listen, it's people like you that need to be listened to and followed by these stupid-ass politicians that do nothing but F up businesses. Like Ronald Reagan said, government's not part of the solution, it's part of the problem. And you're demonstrating this exactly 100% correct. And this is awful. I mean, I applaud you for what you're doing. You're a great American. Thank you, sir. Thank you, and I'll be in touch with P. Ray, and we'll get this going, because this is so obscene. This is a perfect example of why things don't work. Do you know who Obadeli is, by any chance? I'm not. Well, anyways, we've become pretty good friends. He's got this show called the Activist Hour stuff on WVON.
Jim, you can't keep calling my show talking about them people. You know they don't like me, and I don't want them on my show.
Well, but listen,
go ahead.
And this is the kind of thing that we can maybe try to get a few people united and not have a division with conservative people. Because this story is so damn important. I mean, people like, and, we need to be able to work together, my love. And we have to somehow kind of get over some of these things that have occurred, because we all kind of say the same thing, but sometimes we don't want to work together.
I agree.
This story, I mean, that's such a beautiful building. I Googled it, I was listening to the show here. What a beautiful facility. I mean, that building was built by a bunch of artists.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I met him, and we went to the Valley Casino at the old Medina Temple, and it's got this beautiful exterior architecture that they're preserving. And so this is the same thing that should happen with your place. Preserve this and let people see how things were done by these wonderful artists years ago.
I agree.
These old buildings in Chicago are so wonderful and so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for your efforts. I'll try to do what I can do to give you some more exposure and maybe shame some of these politicians and put the flashlight on them and say, here's a guy that wants to do something to enhance the neighborhood, and why are people locally standing in the way? It's so awful.
Thank you, Jim.
Sorry if I'm being a little emotional, but
No, it's okay.
I became very political because of the property tax history in my own little building in Bartlett, Illinois, which is a little corner in Cook County. And I'm just one small guy. And so I can't imagine somebody like you doing what you're doing, 6 figures for damn property taxes for a building that's not even functional. Maybe you should call Pritzker and say, I'm going to take the toilets out and I'll get a tax break. And listen, God bless you, sir. We'll be in touch. Thank you, P. Ray.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, that is a good. I'm sorry. What'd you say? Mr. Gary? Hello?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So, yeah, maybe that's what we need to do. We should go up there to the Regal and everybody take a toilet out. And then that way we can save you some property taxes for the next year, since the governor has already given us that hack. Wait. So you don't have toilets in the building and you still paying property taxes? So what did JB do? What is going on? This is so crazy. And it's like Chicago is an alternate universe. You know how they say Atlanta is not a real place? No, Chicago is not a real place, because it's always a way to get around the overlay for the underplay, depending on who you know. And then depending on, it's going to be a level of thuggery to stop you from whatever you're doing if you're able to do it on the up and up. So it seems like the alderman is engaging in thuggery and intimidation in order to steer a project long term to her. And that we can't do anymore. These are not the days of Al Capone. This is like I said, absolutely nuts. But we're wrapping up the show. And so if the people, can you give us the website one last time?
Of course, AvalonRegal.com.
So you guys, that's AvalonRegal.com. AvalonRegal.com. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
And the Instagram is at Avalon Regal.
At Avalon Regal on Instagram.
On Instagram and Twitter.
Gotcha. You say you're on Twitter as well?
On Facebook. That's correct.
Oh, perfect.
Avalon Regal, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yep,
Avalon Regal on Instagram and Twitter, and Avalon Regal Theater on Facebook.
Got it. We will make sure to like all of your socials so that we can keep an eye on this. I just want to let you know that the people in the comments are infuriated. So you have some new members on your team that are ready to march in your army, because all of us have the same goal, and that's to get that theater back open so that people can see the beauty of our communities. Thank you so much, Mr. Gary, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, and you and I are going to stay in touch, because like I said, we got a lot in common, and it's not often that I find somebody who's just like me. So us nerds got to stick together.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gary.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. Beautiful people. That was the owner of the Regal Theater, Mr. Gerald Gary. He is from the south side of Chicago, went, got an education, went and got some money, came back and say, oh, the Regal, I'm going to buy this Regal. This seems like this is a good idea. Then he buys the Regal. Then the city of Chicago starts to harass the man, lie on the man, keep up mess about the man, say that he a drug dealer, that he flying in drugs, that this is not legit money. Whole time this man went to school to do this. In real life, this is not a game. So we, as the listeners of Black Excellence Hour, we have freed people out of jail. Remember what we did for the Jones family when we got their son out of jail after they went and shot their house up, and Kim Fox called it mutual combat. We got those people put in jail, and we got that boy taken out of jail. Then we had the Halls, Miss Carlisha Hall and her son, when they were over there at the Jewtown Polish spot, and the man started punching her in the face. We got on Black Excellence Hour, and we said, free that woman. And that woman was free the next day at 12 o'clock. Well, Black Excellence Hour, it's time for us to put our shoes on again. We got something else to do. And what we are going to do is we are going to blow down Brandon's line. Every time Brandon says something about Black Chicago, his black wife, his black wife, his black wife, and them kids, his black neighborhood, greens, cornbreads, and fried chicken, we going to tell him, but what about the Regal? See, you can talk all this black investment, all this black jazz, all this black. We trying to fix the past administrations, and all of those past administrations that he's referring to are Democrats. Okay, so when he's talking about his Democrat ancestors, his Democratic political ancestors, while trying to couch all of that in his blackness as he uses all our money for the illegals, we're going to keep pushing back in his face and saying, what about the Regal? That's it. That's all we want to know about right now is what about the Regal? Because they cannot play in our faces like this and then keep expecting for us to show up and smile with them. I'm not doing it. I already told y'all I'm not doing it. I pull up at Brandon's house. I pull up at Brandon's house all the time. I go to city council, and I'm inviting you to do the same thing because they are being hyper disrespectful to our people. And y'all, we just cannot have that. We are not going to have that. That is not how it goes in Chicago. Because as I always say, you can't bully a bully. And all of us are CPS graduates. Our mayor, it did not graduate from the Chicago Public Schools, but we did. And we know what it's like when somebody tries to bully you and treat you wrong and try to talk about your shoes and your mama and all that kind of stuff. What your mama tell you to do, you going to fight them, or you going to come in here and fight me? What you going to do? And you went out there and you fought for your life. So I want to shout out to everybody at Black Excellence Hour who stays on code when it's time to do the business. But with all of that being said, the music is about to play shortly, and that means that we are at the end of Black Excellence Hour. I don't give me a moment with my music. It's me, y'all, not them. It's me. I just gotta get it better together. And I thought I had it together, and I don't. What is happening? Let's try this again. So the music is about to play in a moment once I get it going. And that means that we are at the end of the show. What I want you to do is that if you are a concealed carry holder for real, before we y'all, we got some crazy to tear up on their way to the city, uncomfortable in our space. So I really need everybody to stay on the business of the business, how the business needs to be done. And that is by going to take care of yourself and your family. If you do not have a concealed carry license, my girl, LaShawn Pettis at Design to Teach does a free class every single month. She just did her free class for this month, this past weekend. However, she did tell me that she probably will be doing one again at the end of the month. So be sure to link up with LaShawn so that we can get everything going. So with that being said, the music is definitely about to start because now my time is coming to an end. And shout out to Intellectual Radio for just letting me sit here and talk to y'all all this time. I'm glad we didn't have to rush through the interview. So as I was saying, stay on the business of the business. We got to make sure that we are fighting back every time we can. You ain't no punk. You were not raised to be no punk. You don't let nobody push you around and tell you what to do. Since when we started doing that? We don't do that, y'all. We are proud people. We are at home. Nobody tells you what to do in your own house. You tell them how it's gonna go. So next week when the DNC gets here, you make sure you go up to every Democrat person who think they're somebody and tell them, check out what's happening at the Regal. Check out how the Democratic Party in the city of Chicago is invested in undermining the progress of Black Chicago so that they know and understand why we putting on our shoes, tying them up real tight, and running away from them. This is P. Ray of Black Excellence Hour, a show for people with high self-esteem. As always, I appreciate the company. Let's go, Brandon. Recall Brandon. Lock the doors and mwah. Ciao. See y'all later. Bye-bye.